All right, thank you to Jennifer Joyce for that report. Continuing this coverage with a live update for you out of the city of Philadelphia. Again, this is some of the new video that we are getting into our desk this morning from the moments that shots were fired, people running for safety, not knowing what was going on. Well, again, we do have new details to bring you this morning. 2 suspects officially arrested. That announcement was made yesterday, but there's a little bit of nitty-gritty when it comes to their charges and really what's next in this investigation. So I do want to head out to South Street Live. That is where Fox's Steve Keeley is following this story for us this morning. Steve, a very fluid investigation still, to say the least. What can you tell us?
Yeah, the DA said it was changing by the hour, and it really did yesterday. It developed soon in the morning with the first what they expect to be many arrests. An 18-year-old. He was the man who a police officer saw shooting with an extended magazine, and we learned that was a ghost gun, one of those homemade guns with parts you buy from the internet. But the extended magazine, maybe he could have had 50 bullets in there. We don't know how many shots he got off yet, but if that officer didn't see him, didn't shoot at him after telling him to drop the gun 3 times, didn't hit him in the hand but forced him to drop the gun, we could have a whole lot more people dead and wounded, because he was still firing when the officer, with sharpshooter precision, hit him in the hand, forces the guy to drop the gun, and that guy was arrested at the hospital yesterday. So it could have been way worse. So that officer of the year here in a lot of people's minds. The second arrest, a 34-year-old man, and he was picked up by marshals last night. No problem finding him in South Philadelphia, not too far from South Street, but he was the guy that everybody around the world saw in the video that came out that started this whole thing. He's the guy in the denim jacket whose hat falls off when he throws the first punch at one of the many wounded people. And we learned his friend, also 34-year-old, who died, Greg Jackson, he and the man that he attacked both had legal guns. They were carrying permits to have a concealed weapon on them, but both were boxers. And you're thinking, why do people who learn and train to fight with their hands feel the need to shoot at each other on the streets of Philadelphia? And then the most disturbing thing we heard was from one of the people in those businesses on South Street, a guy named Eric Walsh. He is working in this bar right at the corner, watches everything happen, sees one of the 3 victims shot and killed, the woman, Alexis Quinn. And what he sees after that, when police try to save her life and get her to the hospital, was extremely disturbing to everybody who's heard this from him now.
I heard pop, 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 and I went, those aren't firecrackers, as everybody started to run every which way. And then the girl came across the street, and unfortunately, she died right there, right in front of me. They picked her up right there.
Right there.
And they put her in the RMP.
Yeah.
And they surrounded the car, and they wouldn't let them get through. And all they kept saying was, "F the police." Are you kidding me, dude? They picked her up, they wrapped her in a blanket, and they picked her up, and they wouldn't let her go. They wouldn't let them go through. Even though they started told me she was DOA. Are you kidding me right now? Everybody hates the police until they meet the police. Makes me sick to my stomach.
Steve, that was very emotional sound from that witness, to say the least. So really, when it comes to this investigation, I mean, what is next? Because like you mentioned, these 2 men were not charged with murder. So what can we expect moving forward?
Yeah, it's so awful to hear when cops are trying to save that woman's life, to hear people blocking their car. Here in Philadelphia, they call it a scoop and run, where they put victims of shootings in the back of cars. If not for doing that and waiting for an ambulance, so many more hundreds of people every year would have bled to death and added to the record homicide total here. So what's going to happen is, they've said on Sunday that 5 guns, based on all the shells they found on the street, were used in that mass shooting. They only had 2 of them. They've only made 2 arrests. And then we learned that a .40 caliber gun, different than the 2 guns they found, one that the guy was shooting the ghost gun, and the other gun they got was a .40 caliber gun that killed Alexis Quinn, the woman shot and killed there that man was talking about in front of him. So that gun, that shooter, that killer is still out there. So no one charged with these homicides yet. By the way, the man you saw in that video that was getting attacked, who also had a legal right to fire a gun and got into the gunfight with that man, Greg Jackson, in the white shirt, who was one of the 3 dead, will not be charged, because it was an obvious case of self-defense, and he had a legal right to carry that gun. So this investigation advancing by the hour. We're expecting maybe the next arrest today, and maybe somebody will be identified for killing that person with that .40 caliber gun eventually.
Yeah, and you know, Steve, in the meantime, as this investigation develops, what has the reaction been from the community? I mean, I've been following your posts on social media, and I've been seeing that at this point, people are saying that they're scared to walk outside in Philadelphia. What has the reaction been like?
Yeah, they were saying that sadly all springtime because there's been so much crime here, so many mass shootings, not as many as this time, but they're afraid to go outside their front porch, for instance. They're afraid even to be in their house because their shooting so often is coming into the people's homes. A lot of people wish they could move, but they can't afford to move. So what happens next? Well, Philly police have had trouble on that South Street before. They have a substation on there already, so they have around-the-clock presence there. They had added police there because they expected a big crowd Saturday night, and still you're going to have people that are not deterred by the cops, people that are jumping on police cars, yelling at the police. And we're hoping in this city that somebody will start respecting the law and realizing the cops are there to help you have a safe night out, not to ruin your night. And police know they have a balancing act. They can't tell people, get out of the street. They want people to enjoy themselves, but they also want people to get home to their moms, dads, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters safely after they enjoy themselves out for a night out on town.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's like really hard to hear that one of those victims celebrating their 22nd birthday. So, again, as this investigation continues, those 3 lives being honored at vigils. Steve, we really thank you for joining us, keeping our viewers all up to speed on this lengthy investigation. We'll be in touch with your team throughout the day. Thanks so much.
Okay.